Good morning, everybody. I'd like to call the meeting of the Community Development and Transportation Committee of Wednesday, August 25th, 2021 to order. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the Community Development and Transportation Committee of July 28th, 2021. Do I have a motion for those minutes?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Tyser. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Judy. All in favor? Raise your hand, and that is unanimous. Thank you. So we'll move into the community development agenda item, which is item number 2, consideration of the Tree Bank Fund Administration project list for FY 2022, and then it's also approval of the budget amendment in the amount of $565,921, and I'll turn that over to Ms. Bromberg.
Good morning, and thank you. We're back once again to talk about the Tree Bank Fund projects. What you have before you this morning is broken apart by department. We've tried our best to make sure we can explain these projects as best as we can over in the far right column with the notes. We've also provided you with the anticipated project start and project end date. A great number of these projects are projects that are from the previous or current year and are being carried forward either because they're already underway or the project is still moving forward but hasn't been completed yet. The first one that we have on the list this morning is for the Administration Department grants. This is where the Tree Planting Partnership Program was actually rolled into the Tree Bank Fund a couple of years ago. And I wasn't aware of it, so I didn't have a line item for it. And then we had a project come forward and we realized where the funding was. We were able to work through it with transportation, so it worked out just fine. But I wanted to make sure we have a placeholder for that in case an application comes in. As a reminder, this is matching funds to interested parties who would like to enhance and beautify the city. It is typically meeting HOA that's going to do some work on HOA property so it has more than just an individual purpose to it. We've had a few of those come through. The most recent one was, I believe it's Martin's Landing at our entrance road. They removed some trees indeed and replanted them with some appropriate trees. And so that was the number we shared that cost. And this is a matching program for that. And as I go through these, if there is a specific project I'm going to be talking about, please feel free to stop me. Environmental Public Works is the Thank you. Environmental Public Works is the next department. The transfer station, there's some bioretention areas with some plantings that they would like to have included in. This was a project that was previously approved, is moving forward over to the 22 funding year. Sun Valley Drive BMP Landscaping. This is associated with the Regional Stormwater Project that's there off of Sun Valley. This is also funding that had previously been approved, has actually already been encumbered, but is a part of the fiscal 22 total budget request, just to make sure we've got everything in the right budget line items. Next is tree maintenance and installation near water utility wellhead. This is a new project that the Public Works Department had asked for over off of Willio Road. Next, we have tree maintenance at the Recycle Center. Then we have retention plant maintenance at the Stormwater Utility Department office building. This is another, I believe it's an existing bioretention area that needs some maintenance, and there's some plantings that are required to go along with that. And then last is the replanting of the stormwater wetland in the Big Creek Park. This is approximately just under 2 acres of constructed stormwater wetland. The plantings were originally done back in the early 2000s, and there are some replacements and some restoration that are recommended to be done there. Fire currently does not have any requests, so now I'm going to move to Recreation and Parks. Make sure I didn't skip one there. The Roswell area front park entrance is the final phase. As you probably have seen, they have done what's the east phase, the east side. I always call it the south in my head. And this is to do the mirror image of that on the other side. And so that is work that is getting ready to get started. Hembry Park front entrance, the front entrance to Big Creek Park. And then we have the Groveway Park entrance, its final phase. Then the Recreation and Parks Department have made use of both the planting fund and the maintenance fund over the past few years. So this is their not to exceed budget for those two line items. You'll notice this year, though, for the planting fund, they do have some project ideas already. They just haven't necessarily come to fruition enough that they know what those budgets are going to be. And so in the notes column over there, we have listed those locations for your benefit. Lee Thompson Memorial Park, Waller Park, Woodstock Soccer Complex, and Bill Johnson Community Activities Building. Since they don't know those fees, they couldn't put them in as an individual line item, so what they decided to do was to include those as potential projects underneath the planting fund, and then they, of course, can't exceed the $50,000 in total for those projects. And then the maintenance fund, as I mentioned earlier. And then we have our transportation department. They have 3 projects. There's the Canton Street Tree Replacement Project Phase 1. This is from Alpharetta Street to Norcross Street. This is removing about 20 trees that are just not in condition that are able to be saved. Our arborist has been working with transportation and some other folks out there to evaluate those. And then replanting of 21 trees. The Rucker Road Landscaping, which is along the right-of-way of Rucker Road from State Road 140 Howes Road to the city limits. And then last is the State Road 92 tree replacement. There's a multiple of trees located along the length of that project that need to be replaced. That is subject to GDOT permit and approval, just as a point of reference. The grand total of all of those projects is just under $566,000. We do have the funds available in the tree bank fund to fund that. And as I mentioned earlier, there's about $80,000 to $90,000 that have already been encumbered from a prior approval that's just carried forward into this year, and it is included in that total dollar amount. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. So now the tree bank fund, the big purpose being, for example, a developer is going to clear cut. They're not going to put back they're not going to replant trees, so they're going to pay into this fund, and it gives us the opportunity to really help restore canopy. And I do remember when council agreed that in addition to planting new trees, it could and should go towards extending the life and the health of trees so that they do last longer and healthier. So I certainly remember that, which has certainly covered a lot of here. I did see at least one project included grass, and I'm not sure if others might have as well, but it was my understanding that certainly should be coming from a different fund, whereas in this tree bank fund should be purely focused on really restoring our tree canopy.
That is correct. The code does allow for some lower story trees, smaller trees that aren't normally what we consider part of tree replacement, but grass would not be something that we would fund the replacement
And so
of.
at least I think one of them mentioned it under EPW, and then for something in Rec and Parks, I wasn't sure if it was or not, but let's see where it was. Definitely saw grass somewhere. Is there more EPW up above?
Oh, yes, there is.
Yeah.
They go off the page.
So on number 5, it mentions trees, shrubs, and grasses.
And that's referring to the planting grasses, and we don't fund those. So I've actually already reviewed that planting plan, and we had them split it out, and there are a lot of grasses, but there are also a quantity of trees that are in there. And so but that's not like grass you mow. Those are wetland grasses that are a part of that planting project. But we had a breakdown in the funds when we worked directly with them, and so the trees and the bigger shrubs are covered, but the grasses and anything like sod or anything like that's not covered.
Okay, and so it'd be the same thing for the Rec and Parks, that it's purely focused on tree type?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I just piggyback on that real quick? But the understory plantings also help the tree to survive.
Correct, and you want a multiple level. If you have everything that's all tall, they're gonna fight against each other, so you do wanna have a multiple level, yes.
Councilmember Wilson.
Thank you, and thanks Lenore, and thank you to staff for bringing through all these projects. I think they're all very worthwhile, I'm sure. Last year, I remembered that the East Roswell Phase 2 landscaping was done through the tree bank funds. Is that correct?
It was originally gonna be done through the tree bank fund, but there was a directive to remove it from this, and it was funded through Rec and Park funds, and then we funded some other things. And I would have to lean on Rec and Parks, but I don't think I have anybody here right now specifically about that, but there was a swap that was made, and I don't remember if it was last year or the year before, where we were asked to fund that separately, differently, and it was not through tree bank fund.
Okay.
There were some phases originally that were.
Right.
But
Okay.
then it was a directive to fund that as a separate project and not through tree bank fund.
Right, okay.
Don't remember the
Right,
reasons why.
I know there's a third phase, extending the trail, and then some work on the dog park area, and was just curious about any plans for that. And then I was also just looking at the geographic distribution of the projects here, and I was just curious if there were any other than the front entrance to Big Creek Park that were considered.
At this time, no, and these came directly from Rec and Parks. The only thing I could check is to see if any of the additional Those are all on the west side, for those
Right.
next projects. And so,
Where? It's $15,000.
oh, you mean down here?
It's 15.
Oh, that's the stormwater wetlands, right, that is, right.
Okay.
But from a Rec and Parks perspective, I think they have, of the projects that they had that were on the east side that were available or, that the funds applied to, they have requested those and they don't have any new ones at this point.
I just wanted to make sure that we were looking at a even.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, I don't look at it from a geographic perspective.
Right, right.
I lean on the departments to let me know where their need is.
Well, if you show the previous year, I think you'll find that it was east side.
East side.
It was, well, and actually, this is the status from the project from last year, and it's got a lot in it, so bear with me for a second. Most of them, this is the stuff that was the phase that was done, through, East Roswell. There was another part of it that was not. And then these are the ones that are carrying forward, and that's it from a Rec and Parks perspective. So that is where the big bulk of it was done last year, and they just don't have any available for the Tree Bank Fund at this point, since it's got limited ability to use it, so.
Councilmember Hall.
Thank you. Thanks, Lenore. And that was my question, just if you could give us a status of the prior year. And typically, do we meet these goals every year on the Tree Bank Fund? And my second question, I think Councilmember Palermo clarified for me, this is for replacing trees and not maintenance. We have a lot of requests for the poor condition of the maintenance on the exit ramp of 400 and Holcomb Bridge, that's never maintained. And that wouldn't cover this.
Correct, so I'll answer that first, and then we'll go to the other tab. So the tree bank funds, the only maintenance that can be used is specifically for tree maintenance. So for example, if, it might be pruning something, but it may also be that we have a tree that we have, pine beetle get in there, and so we need to do some maintenance in order to get rid of the ones that have been affected in order to maybe save the rest of them. So there's a variety of tree maintenance activities, but there's no mowing, there's no going out and replacing shrubs on the side of the road are not covered by this. As far as the status, and this is, hopefully I can do this, this is actually our tracking for as we approve invoices. And so most of these, the Roswell Area Park furniture, this was finishing up the other side that is not in the current year. We had just under $80,000 that was spent in East Roswell Park for Phase 2. These projects carried forward. There was about $60,000, a little over $61,000 of removal that was completed, and that's all underneath the funding. Oh, the Hardscriber is at the very top. The Hardscriber landscape project was completed. And that included the landscape project that was designed for the entire length plus along Wexford. And I will have a conversation with transportation about some of them that haven't survived that I drove past yesterday, just to see if there's some warranty to cover those. And then this is what I was talking about earlier, the Valley Bmp Landscaping. We actually have already encumbered it. That was a prior approved project, and the bids did come in. And that is doing the planting there, and that project is moving forward, so we expect to see that going soon. Some of these other projects were transferred around the City Hall pond expansion. There is some portion of the funds for that were approved to be spent. The rest of that would be coming later when they're able to do any replanting of trees in the area. Which will happen when they're done with the construction, and that's it. So the total, I think, this is going to be a little bit off, shows about $300,000 were spent. We actually have closer to $400,000 in total that were spent. Because of the way that the approvals work, I might approve it in fiscal year 20, but the check is cut in fiscal 21, and so it goes against the balance here. So if I pull the report, I broke my brain the first time I did it, so I panicked because I thought, what's been spent that I didn't approve? And so we've got Rec and Parks up until recently has been our most active user of the funds, and then Transportation, Environmental Public Works has certainly found some really good projects to be able to use the funds.
Councilmember Teitzer.
Thank you. Back to and then I'm glad you went to the prior year. I know EPW was looking for some money for the City Hall retention pond project. Is that part of last year, or do we need to do something from this year's?
So they can't, at this point, and I'll have Dan correct me if I'm wrong, they do not have a planting plan, so I don't have any additional funds I can approve for them for the detention pond. We've already spent anything that was eligible, we have allocated those funds to it. So at this point, if they needed additional funding, I don't think it was tree bank related funding. Dan, do I have that correct? And I think we have everything straight on that one now. Yeah, so just to repeat that for everybody, there is not a proposed landscaping plan yet, which is why we still have about $50,000. I don't believe, if I remember, let me go back up here. So we did not ask for it for this coming fiscal year because of that. So that is money that if they come up with a plan when they're ready to, it's something that we certainly could find the funds for out of the tree bank fund when they have that.
Perfect, thank you.
Councilmember Judy.
To follow up on that, I also reached out to Director Leatherman, and he said he was going to get with Mr. Skowski to chat about what you were talking about. Marie got my other question, and so I think I heard the trees outside Wexford that are dead. That's in this plan to replace, or you're gonna follow up from last year's plan to see if we can get those replaced on warranty or whatever?
Right, exactly.
I don't know if you can warranty a tree, but.
Well, typically, there actually is a planting warranty, and I don't know what this particular contract included. We do have, that's one of the reasons that some of our projects, when we have a tree planting plan that's required to plant for specimen, we actually require that they bond them. And there's actually a maintenance component to that for that very reasons, because if they just put them in and don't water them in and don't make them survive, that kind of defeats the purpose. And I don't know if Mohammed is here, I don't know if he's got information on that. Many cases that it is included, and if it's for some reason after that warranty period, then that would be something where we would work with transportation to see what is needed, what should be replaced, what shouldn't. Most of the ones that we've lost are some of the evergreens.
Right.
And some of them did great, some of them didn't, so it could be something that shocked them, it could be they're just in the wrong place and something, even though it's only 10 feet away, it could be something, or it could have had a problem, so I'll turn it to Mohammed.
Thank you. Yes, good morning, Mayor and Council. So yes, there was warranty on those trees, and when we saw them dying, residents complained as well. They've been asking the contractor to replace, and I guess they're just gonna wait for till the end of the warranty period, which was 12 months. So they will get replaced at no cost to the city. It's just that we'll have to water them after the reinstallation because that will be beyond the warranty period.
And I can look at that with you to make sure that we've got, because it could be that it needs to include at least that initial watering period. And we also would encourage them to wait a couple of months. The planting season really starts in November, so it would be ideal to wait till closer to the end of that warranty and then do it all at the same time. So I'm glad we
Sure, thank you.
brought that up.
Thank you.
Mayor Henry.
Thank you. The other thing I would like to look at is, there have been studies done recently that tree canopies are lacking in lower income neighborhoods. Apparently trees are now a luxury of the rich, which what I would like to encourage staff to do, I know our parks are well treed, but I'd like transportation and perhaps community development to look at our lower income areas of Roswell to just make sure that there is sufficient canopy there and that these folks aren't sitting in the middle of a heat island.
Any other questions? Do we have a motion for item number 2?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Do I have a second? Second by Councilmember Hall. Do I have a second by Councilmember Wilsey? All in favor, raise your hand. And that's unanimous. Thank you very much. Thank you, Lenore. Good information. We'll move on to the Transportation Department, item number 3, consideration for the mayor and/or interim city administrator to sign an intergovernmental agreement between the city of Atlanta and the city of Roswell, Georgia, for the Chattahoochee Pedestrian Bridge Project that includes acceptance of reimbursement funds for the associated water line. Mr. Rolfe.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher. So this should be quick and easy. So I'll just give you a quick, the slides. So we are finalizing the design, just to give you a quick status of the project, and we hope to let the project for construction in spring of 2022, which is next year, so it's getting close. So like Michael said, this is just basically just a utility agreement. We have done similar agreements with Fulton County and other utilities many times. It's just that this time it is with the city of Atlanta. They have some facilities on the existing bridge, and they need to be relocated or just moved out of the way for our project. So that's what we are doing here. They have requested for the work to be included in our project, which is good for our project, and they're going to do the design, and we're going to include that design as part of our bid package for the contractor to bid. And then City of Atlanta, they reimburse us after the fact. So staff is recommending approval. The City of Atlanta's cost is a little over $35,000, but they will reimburse the actual amount. And there is no direct cost to the City of Roswell. So if you approve this today, it'll go to a future mayor and council meeting. Any questions?
Any questions from Mohammed? Councilor Bahal.
Thank you, Mohammed. Does this have to do with the property that's owned, anything with the property that's owned on the other side of the bridge?
No, this is just the facilities on the existing bridge or nearby, but not anywhere close to that property.
So nothing with the acquisition of right-of-way or
In Sandy Springs, no.
nothing? Okay, thank you.
Councilor Palermo.
Excellent. I have two questions kind of on that same thought process. So I guess one question I have is, can you actually just help me understand, so why is it Atlanta versus compared to Sandy Springs?
Because the water line is owned by the city of Atlanta.
Oh, so it's their water line.
It's city of Atlanta's water line.
And then, so question number two I have is, if the costs end up exceeding estimates, for whatever reason, there's some large overages, is that all covered by the city of Atlanta, or does Roswell bear any risk for potential over costs?
Yeah, no risk to Roswell. It's their facility. And like I said, this is just their estimate. They will pay the actual amount. They reimburse the actual amount after the fact.
Thank you.
Councilor Bahal.
So where exactly is the water line?
It's attached to the existing bridge.
Yeah, it's on the east side of State Route 9. Basically in the way of where our sidewalk is going, the new bridge abutment toward the Hardscriber.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Councilmember Tyser to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Judy. All in favor, raise your hand. And that is unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mohammed. Appreciate that. That concludes all of our items for this meeting, so we are adjourned.
Hadn't been a long, it's been a long time since we had one of
I get an extra hour and a half for another.